What did your parents do to you that made you promise to yourself that you never do that to your own children? I was never allowed to hang out with friends outside of school. I had to go straight home and couldn't stay and hang out or go over to friends' houses after school or on weekends. This went well into my senior year of high school. It sucked constantly feeling like I was missing out growing up.
They made their problems into problems for the whole family. They pulled us into everything. That's not fair to a kid. Beep, I was straight out asked to fix things between them sometimes. No kid should be even the remotest bit responsible for their parents' relationship or fixing things that are wrong between them. That's beep up. We all have problems. We're human. No one expects perfection. But if you have a problem with your wife, husband, don't bring the kid into it. Don't make it the kid's problem. Don't make the pain of the household, which they're going to feel anyway, somehow the kid's fault. Just beep that beep right to hell.
My parents never thought anything I did was a big deal. I loved art class, but I remember showing my mum artwork and she'd tell me she could make that herself. Okay, thanks.
Beatings and name calling.
They always had me late or last minute to everything. I'll never do that to my kids because, having it done to me, I know it's all the parents' fault.
My parents were divorced since before I can remember. They did not get along very well when I was a kid. There was one weekend in particular where on the way to drop me off my dad told me, "Whatever you do, don't end up like your mother. Get home to mom," she tells me, "Whatever you do, don't end up like your dad." Best advice either of them ever gave me.
My parents refused to address issues between my sister and myself. They hate conflict, so it was easier for them to guilt me into doing whatever my sister wanted and then praise me for being good than to ever put her in line. Being praised for always giving up what you want can really mess you up.
Compare them to other kids.
Prioritize grades over social adjustment. They were great parents in most respects, but now I'm academically successful but lonely and antisocial. My kids will not have to choose between having friends and getting perfect grades.
They gave me trauma by being toxic to one another when arguing. My mom also attempted to take her own life in front of me when I was 10 years old, which is something I'd never wish upon anyone to have to witness.
Assumed I would financially support them after graduating from college, when they didn't help me at all with my academics, tuition, emotional support, etc.
Never give them a reason for anything. My parents always told me because I said so or I don't owe you an explanation. Yes, actually, as a matter of fact, it is indeed your job to tell me why certain things are bad to do or say. Not just because you're in charge. Telling your kid to not play in the road because I said so versus because you could get hurt, the one given a reason is leagues less likely to actually do it. If you ask me, because I said so is a lazy response that you tell your kids when you don't actually have a good reason for what you're telling them.
Isolate them from the world. Growing up I see now that they wanted to protect me from how beep things were, but now I feel like a beep useless idiot. If I would have known as a kid that I had violent gang-related family, addicts or that we were on welfare, I could have found a desire to do better.
Mock my weight, mock my interest in a particular girl, enlisted me to provide them with emotional support without doing so for me, declaring lack of confidence in my desire to be an entrepreneur, making TV the priority over spending time together, yelling as primary means of communication, religious indoctrination, authoritarian, rigid parenting, i.e., because I said so, my house, my rules, and on the list goes. My parents have served as great examples of what not to do with my own kids.
Financial insecurity. The amount of anxiety I had from money-related things is ridiculous. We were never poor, we were broke, they just made bad decision after bad decision putting us in a stupid amount of debt.
Ground them for an indeterminate amount of time. I'll decide, past sentence, and be done, not just leave them grounded for months and beep forget that I have all their electronics in a gun safe somewhere.
I'm going to preface this by stating that I understand how childish it is. I have a complex about mine. It isn't yours, it is mine. Do not beep touch it. One of my earliest memories is of my dad taking my toys. My dad. I have this memory of most of my belongings being shoved into a box and never seeing them again. I later learned he had taken them because my cousins weren't going to have presents on Christmas that year. Had I known, I probably would have given them, but I had an issue with them being taken. When I was about 7, my aunt got her kids taken away when she went to jail. She got out of jail and came to live with us. I was kicked out of my room, and made to sleep on the couch, while she took my bed and my bedroom. Then more of the same as her kids came to live with us. Toys being taken, broken, and me getting yelled at for not wanting to share. Once again, I might have shared had I been asked, but these things were taken from me. I grew up with these assholes who knew no boundaries, and I was the asshole for insisting these boundaries be respected. One of my cousins is a sociopath. She used to hit herself to make bruises, and blame me. Doing this, she got me arrested on my 18th birthday. I left home shortly after that and never looked back. The way I was raised, and had things taken, I am incredibly protective of my things, and who I let around my home. Because of how I was treated by my parents, it ensured I would never have kids of my own.
My parents are awesome people. Truly. The one thing I would absolutely do different if I ever got my own is to allow them to fail more. Don't take over control whenever they aren't brilliant at something. Let them learn.
Always told me I could be a pretty girl if I lost weight. My oldest memory from when I was between 6-8 is of me sitting on the floor drawing something. My parents are talking with their friends and suddenly my mom asks me what I want to be when I grow up. I wanted to be a stylist since I loved creating dresses, but I've forgotten the word. So I said I wanted to be a supermodel, hoping it would help me remember the right word. Just after I said that, everyone started laughing their asses off and my mom told me I would need to lose at least half my weight if I wanted to be pretty. BC Nobody wants a fat girl as a model. After that it just got worse to the point of calling me an internet prostitute after a pedo groomed me and convinced me to send intimate pictures of me. I was 13, depressed. BC I was being bullied at school, became antisocial, didn't want to do anything besides locking myself in my room. Stopped eating so I could be skinny and felt unwanted, so it was pretty easy to manipulate me. They said it was my fault, and about 2 years later I asked them to put me in therapy. BC I felt depressed and they yelled at me, calling me an ungrateful brat and a liar because, and I quote, "You have a good life. You have clothes, food, a house, a phone and both of your parents. You don't have any reason to be depressed. You just saw teenagers claiming to be depressed and is doing the same thing. BC This is a trend now. Stop being stupid." And many more things. Now I'm scared to even have kids and risk treating them the same way.
There's not much that I wouldn't do differently. For one, I will actually listen to my children. I want them to know that they need not be afraid to actually talk to their parents about themselves and what's going on in their lives. My parents don't actually know who I am, nor would they want to. I will not hide the fact that I'm not perfect, and will own up to my mistakes and apologize when I've done wrong. One thing my dad did was tease me even when I verbally explained that I don't like certain things he says, or my siblings, but too often, nothing changed. My parents were very, very anti-science and truly don't even believe depression and anxiety are a real thing. I also only just learned that I have ADHD at age 25, and basically having that unrecognized my entire life could have saved me a whole lot of mental struggle. I just remember a lot of hatred and vitriol in my childhood. All stuff I have had to unlearn and am still unlearning. My kids won't feel that, and I'll make sure our house is peaceful. My wife grew up with a verbally, mentally, and physically abusive narcissistic mother, and she is the complete opposite. I'm so excited to have kids with her.
Responding to most requests with "you're not old enough to be trusted."
Multiple step-parents. 6 total.
Forced religion. It's akin to giving your kid over to a cult.
Homeschooling.
May your day be filled with joy and happiness. And please remember to subscribe to Upvote for the best quality content every day.